when parents put off or hide their feelings or ignore what they really want in this blended family relationship, the kids feel that. The kids will suffer in the long run.
Yes.
Kids will, and it gets picked up differently when I have not had a voice as a stepmom or a stepdad, and I'm holding back. The kids, they feel that, and they're like, oh well, maybe she really doesn't care for me.
Mm-hmm.
She does look at me differently, and that's not it. But because I have to hold back now, I don't have my voice.
Yeah.
I'm giving off that energy. So this is why it's so important that we as step parents, we really must decide where we want to be in this blended family.
Hello and welcome back to Journey of a Fearless Female. I am your host, Paola Rosser, and this week my guest is ChaVonne Sampson, who is the podcast host of Crushing the Chaos. She's a stepmom coach, and she is part of a 3 generations of Blended Family Bliss, a stepkid, a bio mom of 1, a bonus mom for 4 kids, and each of them have a different bio mom. On today's episode, we're going to dive into why are stepmoms given such a bad rap when the only thing we're guilty of is finding love with a man who has kids with someone else. And if you have or have ever been a step parent, then you know the chaos that comes with co-parenting and the struggles of being the second wife or the third wife. So everybody, please welcome ChaVonne. Hi, how are you? I'm so excited to have this conversation.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
All right,
I'm excited too.
Let's talk about your journey as a fearless female. So you said in your bio that you were a stepkid. So talk about your experience as being a stepchild in a blended family.
So I would say I've been blessed as a stepkid. Now, I was not the best as a stepkid, but I have an awesome stepmom, and in that she loved me for me, and she was there for me. It had nothing to do with my father. Of course, it started there. They're still together all these many years later. Of course, she had a deep love for my father, but she did an amazing way of separating our relationship from, or even detaching our relationship from him. It wasn't, she was trying to get on his good side. It wasn't that, she wanted to get praise or any of that. It's truly, she formed and decided that I'm going to step up and be in this child's life, and whatever that comes with that, I'm going to roll with it.
And
now, her
how old were
situation,
you when like you became a stepchild?
I had to be at least 2 or 3.
Oh, so you
So
don't
this was,
remember, like your parents never sat you down and said, we're getting a divorce. You didn't know that.
I didn't
You was
know
just,
any of that. All my life, pretty much, my parents were separated, and that's even with that. She didn't have to deal with my mom to the degree that I've had to deal with my kids' mothers. So,
yeah.
but
She's
having that
lucky.
there, but I was very much aware that she was not my mother, and I wanted my mother.
Yeah.
And so dealing with that. And I shouldn't say I wanted my mother. It was more so that I had it in my mind, like it was just going to be me and my mom, and you over here with. I do have sisters and brothers. You over here with my sister and brother, and my daddy, but whatever. So there was a rough patch in there. I don't remember that. I'm told this. Like, I'm told I gave her the famous lines of "You not my mama," but. And even when I would meet friends years later, they'd be like, "Oh, how's that? How's your stepmom doing?" And they'd have this, and I'm like, "No, she's doing great." Like, I didn't understand why they had this distaste in her mouth, because I loved her at this point. Like, this is my mom.
Yeah,
So,
it's hard because, especially with Disney movies, they've done such a great job portraying that stepmoms are evil and they want to hurt you and they want to take you away, from your real mom or your real parents. And recently I had my little nephew, and my stepchildren are Connor and Kyle, and they love their cousin Connor. And they came to visit and they were like, "Where is Connor?" And I'm like, "They're with he's with his mom. And he kind of looked confused because he's, all his life, he's only known me. So he was like looking at me and I'm like, Isaiah, I'm his stepmom. And you should have seen him like curl up in his little car seat because he was afraid. And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
but I'm a good stepmom. I was like, you can even ask Connor, and it was funny when Connor finally, came over. I was like, ask him what I told you to ask him, because there is that like underlying notion in everyone's mind that your stepdad or your stepmom are evil.
Hmm. Yeah, and rightfully so. We come in and we are that figure, and we have things that, just to keep the dynamics going, we have to step in a place where some people think we don't have a place in, but you
Mm-hmm.
have to. Children are involved. We're there to support our spouse, so that's involved. There's that relationship that has to take place in when you're blending, when you're doing co-parenting and all that other stuff. And so I think now that I've been doing this, I've been a stepmom coach for 7 years now. Now that I've been doing this, I truly, and it could granted be because not only am I a stepmom, but I'm a bio mom too. I get it.
You get both sides of the coin.
No, but I get why stepmoms get a bad rap.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. We're coming in and we are basically involved in someone else's, whether the mother is involved, whether the mother is present or not. We are coming in and we're putting down our values, our tolerances, all those things, and rightfully so. We should do
Yeah.
those things, whether people believe we should or not. We should do those things. But of course, when that dynamic comes together like that, we are the ones that's going to get the bad rap, because everyone wants that the mother, the biological mother, to have her rights and have her say so. And the fact that dad is involved, it's them two on an island, and you should get in where you fit in. But that's so unrealistic.
Yeah. It's actually one of the toughest jobs to have, is to be a step parent, because you really don't, like you said earlier, you really don't know where you belong. You're coming into someone else's family dynamic. My sister always used to tell me, never marry a man with a kid with someone else, because it's very complicated. But like I said in the bio, you are only guilty of falling in love with a man who has kids with someone else, and now you've fallen in love with this guy and you're like, I don't want to break up with him because of his children, like. And so you try to make it work, and it is not easy. It is the hardest road I've been on. It's not only a reflection of my own childhood wounds, but it's also like a reflection of like, where do I belong? You're trying to figure out where do you belong, because I personally did not want to step in the mom's like feet. And I never wanted Connor and Kyle to feel like they had to choose. And I never wanted them to feel like I was their mom, and I never got involved for a long time in the disciplinary actions that they needed to have, because I felt like this isn't my child. But at the same time, they're living in my home, and
Yeah,
there's rules in my home that are different from the rules in her home. And I believe that, if you are getting a divorce, yes, I would be devastated, first of all, from the divorce. Second of all, to know that there's a new human that is going to be around my children. And like you said earlier, you don't know what that human's beliefs, morals, values, habits are. And now they're going to be implemented into my child, especially if your child is between the ages of 0 to 7. That's when they're being deeply programmed. And that's the program that's going to run them from the rest of their life. And like you said, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You have absolutely no control.
correct. And it's funny because I did become a stepkid in that range.
Mm-hmm.
And many times, and I'm pretty sure I have a blog post on this, that what takes precedent, nurture or nature?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I understand why stepmoms get a bad rap, because either you're doing something and that's too much, or
Mm-hmm.
you're not doing anything and that's not enough. And every situation is different. Everybody's household is different. everybody's involvement or the capacity of the bio mom may be different than that of the stepmom and that of the dad. Every dynamic is so different. And so with that, and whether I am full-time in my child's life or not, it does not feel good to me to know that another woman has influence over my child. In fact, what if we as biological parents already feel like, what if I can't connect with my child? What if, I don't bond with my child, and now I have to see the love. Basically, I'm sharing the love of my son, my daughter, with another woman, and she has things that she does better than I do.
Yeah.
How dare her? You
Yeah,
know?
it's hard. It's hard,
Correct, you know?
it's really hard to I personally, like, I fell in love with Connor. He was just the cutest little 8-year-old boy with the most beautiful sparkling eyes, and even it was really hard for me, like, when he would go back to his mom, even though he wasn't my kid, I would feel sad, like, "Oh my gosh, he's going back to his mom, and, like, we're gonna miss his birthday, or we're gonna miss this, we're gonna miss that," and it's like, and I'm not even the person who gave him life. I cannot even imagine how she felt when he would come to our house.
Correct. But there's the thing there. This is why I love to support stepmoms, because just those same feelings and emotion and that care that you felt for Connor, it's a
Mhm,
real thing. And
mhm.
so for whether it's the world, whether it's a teacher in a school that doesn't understand the dynamics, who want to assume that you're just this side chick or this home wrecker that
Mm,
came in and really don't care about the child, how dare you not get to really claim what's yours and what you want out of your blended family. Like
yeah,
you get that right to do such.
yeah,
Now you have to take in consideration, again, like I said, those dynamics, but you are going to influence this child. And so
mhm,
that energy where that influence come from is going to make a difference. And
yeah,
so getting back to what I was saying, nurture versus nature, I've spent way more hours and times with my stepmom than I have with my biological mom. Biological mom loves me dearly, but just that's how the cookie crumbled.
mhm,
In my life, I'm fortunate enough to have a relationship with both, but I act just as much like my stepmom as I do my biological mom.
yeah,
Even though I spent more time with my stepmom, there's just genetics, there's just different things. I sound like my mother, I laugh like my mother. I did a lot of the same sports and things and same interests as my mother, not without even knowing. I didn't know,
yeah,
like, oh, these are the things that she did, so let me follow in her footsteps. No, it just happened naturally.
yeah, because you share the same genetics.
Correct. But just the same on how I'm living my life and my introverted tendencies and the way I interact, that very much, and how I'm a hard worker and all those other things, that came from my stepmom.
Yeah,
So, and I tell my mom, because again, she faces guilt,
mm,
mom guilt, just because of the dynamic, just as way as, my stepmom feels rejection when I'm going over here and I'm doing stuff with my mom that maybe she had plans for us. Whatever those things happen in both avenues.
yeah,
One's not more right than the other, but I would just feel slighted and not be the awesome and amazing woman that I am today without both of them.
yeah, that's a
How
beautiful
fortunate was
realization.
I to have both of them,
Yeah,
and so, and I say all the time, I was able to, my parents, and I tell my biological mom this all the time. I thank you for letting things unravel the way that they did, because I got the best out of everybody that was around me,
mm,
because that's the way it was. Now, most women that I work with as their stepmom coach, they don't have the same nuances. They don't have that. There's a lot of conflict involved. There's a lot of bad communication that's involved. There's a lot of mistrust and
mhm,
anger and just a whole lot of things that take place.
yes,
But because of what I had, I'm able to premise my coaching practice on such things that, you'll hear a lot of school of thoughts is, well, let's just all get along for the kids. Let's put our adult ways and our adult feelings aside and let's do what's right for the kids. And I'm
Yeah.
saying, no, it can't be that way. We have to get ourselves together first as a stepmom. We have to really come with those awarenesses, those accepting things, understanding our tolerances is being able to then communicate those things. Why is it important that when you're over here, you do laundry or you do chores? It's
Yeah.
because I'm that evil stepmother, and I think because you are a child, I want you to clean up behind me, you be my maid. No, it's because I want you as an adult to know what it is and how to clean up behind yourself and how to do those basic necessities.
Yeah.
So knowing how and when to communicate those things to your spouse so that you guys can get on the same page so that then when bio mom has an issue, now the conversation can be had in a way that does benefit the child, that the child's best interest is involved. But it took those adults first to come together and get their act together, then the kid will benefit.
Yeah.
That's what people are missing, because when parents start, and I when I say parents, I mean stepmoms as well in there. When
And
parents
stepdads.
and stepdads, yes. When parents put off or hide their feelings or ignore what they really want in this blended family relationship, the kids feel that. The kids will
Yes.
suffer in the long run.
Yes.
Kids will, and it gets picked up differently when I have not had a voice as a stepmom or a stepdad and I'm holding back. The kids, they feel that and they're like, oh well, maybe she really doesn't care for me.
Mm-hmm.
She does look at me differently, and it's not, that's not it, but because I have to hold back now, I don't have my voice,
Yeah.
I'm giving off that energy. So this is why it's so important that we as step parents, we really must decide where we want to be in this blended family, and after we decide where we want to be, know how to communicate it.
Mm.
And then once we communicate it, then being willing to really know where we can be flexible and know where our tolerances are. And
Yes.
once that, you can really approach it with peace. And
Yeah.
even when bio mom flies off the handle because this is what we do as moms when it comes to our children, you don't have to feel slighted. You don't have to feel like she's controlling your household. You don't have to feel all those things because you know where it's coming from. You know why you stated what you stated. You still feel that way. Or
Yeah.
you know that it's something that it don't even mean that much to me. So if it mean that much to her, she can go have
Go
at it.
ahead and have it. Yeah. There are so many emotions involved with a divorce. And I love that you said earlier, like, not only are we having a bad rap that we are evil because we're stepmoms, but it also comes with that idea of you're the one that destroyed the family. And, there's because I'm part of like my stepson's daily life. And when he goes to hockey practices and when I see other hockey moms, or even they kind of look at you like, oh, people automatically assume you're the person that broke up this family. You are that person that like wreaked havoc. They never stop to actually even ask questions. They just assume you played that role. And, there's a lot of like things that people, it's none of people's business. Like you said earlier, I have to work with all of those things, the emotions, the triggers, all the pain. I'm jumping into a family where the nuclear bomb exploded and they're separated, and the children still can't figure it out. And one of the biggest things that I came in contact with, well, Connor loved me from the beginning. He's just a little 8-year-old ball of fun. But Kyle was 13, and Kyle really had a hard time with accepting me. I remember he wouldn't look at me in the face. I remember he would come to the house and go straight to his room and stay in his room. There was a time when I overheard him say that he really loved lasagna, and I was trying my hardest to get this kid to like me. So I spent like 4 hours making Paula Deen's like famous lasagna, and he came downstairs and he looked at it and he goes, "Can't we just have Taco Bell?" And it literally broke my heart. And I went upstairs and I'm crying. I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm not going to let this 13-year-old win. But it wasn't until I went and I had a conversation, because I'm not I didn't come from a family of divorce. My parents like were together their whole time, even though they were dysfunctionally together. I went and I talked to a friend who came from divorce, and she still at 12 years old, she's 40 something years old, but at 12 years old, she remembers the conversation. She remembers her mom sitting her down and saying, Dad is not coming home. And she remembers the feeling of, was it something I did? Was I not a good enough kid? Was I, too loud? Did I cause too many fights? And the kid takes it upon themselves. They don't stop to see that maybe the parents just aren't good together. They just take it upon themselves like it was my fault that my family didn't stay together. And when she told me that, I made an extra effort to make Kyle feel loved. And even
Mhm.
though for a long time, I would have to say about 2 years, I tried to like make him feel loved here in this home. Every time he walked in the door, which I learned from Oprah, and she said that every time she would see Gail, her kids would come in, Gail would be so excited. Oh my gosh, my son is here. My daughter is here, even if they just were gone for like a day or two. And so I learned that because there was times in the beginning because it was so hard and it was triggering my inner child. Like, what's wrong with me? Why doesn't he love me? Why doesn't he like me? I'm a good person. And so when he would come in, I just would be like, oh, here he is. We're going to have to deal with his drama. But the moment I had the conversation, I realized that this kid had absolutely no, it wasn't his decision. And he didn't get a chance to be a part of this decision. And he blamed himself. So every time he walked in the door, I was like, oh my gosh, Kyle's back. Hi, Kyle. Oh my God, I got you these snacks. And I would be so excited. And he kind of would look at me like, who's this crazy lady? And it took him a while to like really form, it took me a while to really form that like, hey, I'm not here to destroy that relationship with your mom. I don't want to be your mom. I just want to be here. I love your dad and I just want to be here to help him in any way I can. And it wasn't until he was 15 that I actually involved myself in the disciplinary action. And it was because it was his birthday and his mom had already taken him out and did everything. And I remember he came in, he was grumpy, had his little backpack, just went. And we had gotten dressed up to go to his birthday. And Connor had hockey practice. And we even told Connor, we're not going to hockey practice. We're going to go celebrate your brother's birthday. And he walked in and went straight to his room and closed the door. And Travis went and knocked on his door and was like, hey, we want to take you out for your birthday. I already went. Well, we were thinking about, I already ate. Just like one word answers, just being rude. And Travis was like, okay, close the door. And he's walking towards me because I'm listening from my room. He's walking towards me. My husband had tears in his eyes. And he was like, I guess we'll just go to practice, and told Connor to change. And they left to practice. And that broke my heart because my husband really truly wanted to spend time with him. I was trying my hardest not to say anything, but I was like, I have to jump in. So I went upstairs, I've known him for 2 years now. I'd never jumped into any other disciplinary action. This was the first time I knocked on his door and he's like, "Who is it?" "It's me. Can I come in?" And I opened the door. I didn't walk in. I didn't want to like be like over him because I know what it was like to be a child when a parent is like over you trying to control you. So I just opened the door and I said, "Your dad really just wanted to spend time with you on your birthday." "Well, I already ate." "Okay, well, all your dad wanted to do was spend time with you for your birthday. He was looking forward to it all day. He has a present for you and he was excited to give it to you, but now you hurt him and he walked away crying. I know you didn't see it, but I saw it. And your dad has feelings too." And he
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that." And I'm like, it really hurt him because we all were looking forward to spending time with you on your birthday. And I said, well, when he comes back, maybe you should ask him, hey, Dad, I would really like to go get ice cream with you or something. So the door closes and Travis comes back from hockey practice and I'm downstairs and I hear Travis go upstairs because Connor needed something. And Kyle opens the door and he goes, Dad, I would really like to go get ice cream with you. And Travis was like, well, there's ice cream in the fridge. And I was like on the couch, like, no, like, you were supposed to take him to go get ice cream. So Travis comes downstairs and he's sitting there. And I was like, I talked to him. The reason why he asked you is because I said something to him and he goes, oh man, you should have told me. And I was like, it's okay. Just go back up there and make a date with just Kyle. Not all of us, just him, because I feel what he needs is time with you, one-on-one. And so he did. And when he came back from his one-on-one date, my husband was like in tears. He was like, thank you for suggesting that, because we had a really good conversation and I gave him his watch that he wanted and he was so happy. And sometimes that's all the child wants, because the child sees that a new person's coming in and they have this idea that this person is now going to replace me. This person is now going to take away the love that my dad is originally given to me. And now it's going to be all about this person. And even for me as a stepmom, it was hard for me that for a week he was my husband and he was doting on me and he loved me and he gave me all my attention. But as soon as Connor and Kyle came in the picture, it was like, get out of the way. My children are here. And I was like,
Correct.
what's going on? Like, what about, and it was hard for me, and my inner child was triggered. So I love that you said earlier, it's so important for all the adults to really work on themselves, to really heal their own inner child, their own wounds, their own triggers, because you are going to be dealing with these huge emotions in this new circumstance of a blended family. And there's always going to be one person or two, or maybe all, who don't work on themselves, have explosive, fights and they say things that they shouldn't say in front of the children. And even though you said, like you said earlier, you could say, everybody just chuck it up for the kids. You could say nothing, but the child can feel the energy in the room,
Yes.
can feel the distrust, could feel the anger and the hatred between the parties. So it's so important to have these conversations and to have open communication. You can't force, like you can't just jump into a stepmom position and be like, these are the rules. You're going to love me. We're going to do it this way. You cannot go in there that way. You have to allow the healing to take place. Like I said earlier, it's like an atomic bomb was just dropped. So there's shrapnel everywhere. And so
Yes.
you have to really take your time, and you can't just dive in and be like, this is the way it's going to be, because that's not how it works in situations like a blended family.
Not at all. So many nuggets. And so who's listening, and if they happen to be a stepmom and in a place where the stuff that you're saying, they're probably feeling, but she doesn't understand my story. That won't work for me in my house. That won't work with the crazy bio mom that I have, or 2, 3, or 4, kind of like
Yeah.
myself there. It won't work for me. I want to kind of deconstruct what themes that I hear with you and your journey as a stepmom, so that I really want to help this person that's listening, that's thinking that oh well, she had it easy, mine is 10 times worse. Because again, like you said in the bio, you didn't misread. I have 4 stepkids and all have different mothers, and so I've had the spectrum of what it could be as far as exes and those things. And so first off, I'm going to start off with a story similar to yours, and then I'm going to deconstruct it if we have time, and if you give me.
I want to give you as much time as needed, because this conversation needs to be had.
Yes.
There's so many people listening, and either you're in a relationship with somebody who has kids and you haven't gotten married, or you've been married for years, or you come from a blend, or you were a stepchild yourself. Like, you could see it from all different dynamics, so it's super important.
Yes. So it's something that you did, and that I've did, and you talk about wanting to make sure that you, as, and I'm putting words in your mouth, so if I misquote you in any way, feel free to step in, and I won't be offended, because I want them to get the good from both of us, right?
Yeah.
Not forcing and not pushing your agenda. I remember, first off, me being a step kid, I still wanted my parents to be together. And I told you, I've never known my parents to be together my entire life, but still, I wanted that. How is it that a child that's never seen their parents together? So it's not something that I've known, but that was still a desire of my heart.
Yeah.
And this was even, I don't know where I thought my stepmom was going to go. It wasn't that I even wanted her to go away. I just had a desire for my parents somehow to get together.
Yeah.
fast forward to now, I'm a stepmom. Well, I'll tell you that went away when I started dating.
Uh-huh.
When I started dating and breaking up in relationships myself, I understood, and I didn't have that desire for my parents anymore. It comes a time in your life through
Right?
experience where you understand. You know
That
what I
some
mean?
people
But
just aren't meant to be together, right?
correct, right? But fast forward now, I'm in the car with my stepdaughter, and she says, "I want my mommy and my daddy to be together." Basically, that was the gist of the conversation. And I know most women would have either not said anything or would have been like, you know what, well, they're not together. I'm with your dad and yada, 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 yada. In that moment, you want to talk about understanding because of your own inner child.
Mm-hmm.
In that moment, I was able to reach back down and really tap into my own inner child and respond from that place for my stepdaughter.
Yeah.
And when I tell you from my core, it was in that moment, it was my truth.
Mm-hmm.
I too, and this is what I said. I said, you know what? I too want that for you. I would love for your mommy and daddy to be together. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think would happen if they were to get back together? How would your life be different? Why is that such a good thing? And she stopped, and she could have been no more than 8 years old. She stopped and she thought about it, and she was like, no, they wouldn't be very happy. They would
Mm-hmm.
argue, they would do. She was able in that moment
Yeah.
because, again, one of the things that you did time and time again was you removed yourself from it, and not even putting the kid first. Is it wasn't about you.
Mm-mm.
It
It
was
wasn't
about the
about me.
family. It was about what your husband needed. It was about what the child. It was about your blended family. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the first thing, is why we as, and that's why I say stepmoms. I love the stepdads. I've had stepdad clients as well. Their journey and their situations is somewhat a little bit different because they somewhat accept it, although they
Yeah.
have to go with the okie doke and they have their own issues. But,
Yeah.
but for this conversation, why we as stepmoms have to come from a place where we know our value and we know what we're bringing to the table. You are the matriarch of your family.
Yeah.
And you accepted that. Yes, my husband was married before, and now here I come in, but this is my family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how crazy and how many different decisions I may not have a say in. This is still my family.
Yeah.
And that acceptance of, there's going to be things that's just, and I know I have a blog post on this, is sometimes stepmoms, it ain't none of your business. It ain't. Yes,
It
all
isn't.
this good stuff is happening in your household where you pay all your bills,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes it ain't none of your business. I'm using improper English just to
Yeah.
really make it home, but that's a great thing. That's a luxury that we too get as stepmoms.
Yeah.
Is sometimes when you talked about the Shrek matter that's all over the place, you not on the team to come in and pick up all the Shrek metal and find a black box to see what happened.
Yeah.
You over here on, we have a new plane, we have a
Mm-hmm.
new ship, we have a new whatever, and we just got to keep this together so it don't blow up like the last one.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that you are the matriarch and really coming in and making decisions as that leader in your household, queen of your castle, as I like to call it, queen your
Mm-hmm.
castle, you can do that. That's your right. He your man and you his woman, and so he the king, you the queen. That's why you get to queen your castle.
Yeah.
Knowing that, and when you can really come from that place, that's when you can really use your voice. You used your voice in that moment. You was an advocate for your husband in that moment when it came to stepping in, knowing when to step in,
Yeah.
exercising your right as queen to be able to step in and say, hey. And he took notice, like, what's she doing in here? She don't know.
Right? I never would go into his room. And that day he was like, this must be important, you know?
Correct.
Yeah, it took a
Correct.
while, I'm telling you. And there's two other, I want to tell two more stories
Go
because
for it. I bet this
talking,
is gonna be good. It's gonna help me break down my other 2 points. I already
because
said it. Go for it.
because when you were saying like you're the queen of your castle, you have your own rules. And for a long time, I didn't get into the disciplinary action. I let his dad do that. But there was one time that I was like, no, it has to be done this way. Connor was playing hockey in the garage and he hit a window and it broke the window. It cost $232 to replace the window. So I did it, like I wrote it down on a piece of paper and I said, the total cost of the window is $232. You're going to have to pay back the window by cleaning your room, taking out the trash, helping us out, either me or Travis. And I had like a point system, like 5 points for this, $2 for this, whatever. He took that to his mom, and I think he was like 10 or 11. He took it to his mom and he goes, "Mom, I don't want to have to clean. I don't want to have to do." And of course, she called and said, "I'll just pay you the $232." And Travis was like telling me, "Should I just take the 232?" And I was like, "No, that what she does in her house is her house. And what we do at our house is our house." And Connor needs to understand that there's consequences
Yes.
to breaking a window. Yes, it was our window, but if it would have been the neighbor's window or the neighbor's car window or whatever, he needs to understand that there's consequences to his actions, especially and in our household, there are rules. And we don't run like a strict house. Like that boy has never made his bed since. But like in that moment, he needed to understand that he needed to be more careful. And that was something that I continuously told him while he was playing in the garage. Like, you have to be very careful because you're going to break something. And the moment he did, there had to be consequences to that action. And it was hard. And then there was another time where she was like, "I need this." And I remember I was arguing with my husband. And then it wasn't until I drove away, I was driving to the grocery store, that like I was sitting in the car and I was asking God, like, what am I supposed to do? And the more that I thought about it, I thought about when you resist something, it's like you're swimming upriver. You're going to get tired. You're going to lose your energy. You're going to get out of breath. And that's exactly how I felt. And I thought, at this moment, if this means so much more to her, then I'm just going to give it to her. And then I thought about all the blessings, all the amazing things that I have in my life. The moment I released it, I can't even tell you how good I felt. I no longer had that burden on me. And that's the thing. It's like, and it doesn't have to be with a stepmom or a bio mom, or fight with a friend, a fight
Yes.
with your husband, a fight with a coworker. If you are resisting, then just picture yourself swimming upstream, because that's exactly what you're doing. When you let it go and you flow with the river, how much more relaxed and at peace are you doing that versus trying to fight, trying to swim, trying to be correct, trying to be the right one? Sometimes you just have to let it go.
Correct. And that is another thing that we often do as stepmoms, is we do make it into she's winning. She's always able to control a thing, or her say so is greater than mine, and all those other good things. And we get wrapped up into that to the point where we get so frustrated that even just the hearing of her name just can. I've had clients, the hearing of their husband's or their spouse's ex, their name irritates them. They get so caught up in wanting the bio mom to do things and to see things their way. And when they don't see things their way, that's where that resistance come in and all that other good stuff. But again, I go back to when we are able to get somewhere and love on ourselves, really know what it is we want in our blended families, we're able to think more strategically.
Yeah.
It is that peace does come, that release you can let go. And when you
Mm-hmm.
let go, it's going to become a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And so you sit back and you collect that data. I'm an ops person. That's the other end of my business. I'm an ops person. So when you come and you collect that data, and now your husband's frustrated too, you just be like, yeah, you notice too that every time this and this and that. So what are we going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
How can we make this better for us? Where are we going to draw that line in the sand? Because just like she says yes and no and all that other stuff, we can too.
Yeah, exactly.
And overall, at the end of the day, the kid will just thrive and feel a place of love. That's another thing, another common theme that I heard in your stories and that I bring about to my clients is coming from that place of love. That place of love, and from love, and I'm going to end with two things. Love is important, loving yourself, so that when things don't happen the way you think they should, or you get the short end of the stick yet again, if you're
Mm-hmm.
leading with love, I'm doing this and I'm not looking for anything back in return, and it's not about me anymore and all that other good stuff. It's about my family. Then comes that of grace.
Mm.
Grace for yourself, because there are times, even you said it, where you're like, oh, he's coming into the house, and then you feel guilty, like, okay, this is just a child, and I knew what I was getting into when I married this man, so I shouldn't be having these thoughts
Mm-hmm.
about their kid. It's if there's a stepmom out there and she's like, I like my stepkid, but I can't say I love him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's okay.
it is okay.
That is so okay. But know what your tolerance is and know what that is. And so if you approach that child from a place of I like you, and not trying to, like you said in the beginning, force and fake like you love, or shut them off completely, because, well, if I can't love them, then
Yeah.
I just need to stay from us. I need to just keep
There's
my
some
distance.
parents that don't love their real children.
My point exactly. Kick,
It's
kick, kick.
okay. It's
It's
okay.
okay. It is
Yeah.
okay. And we just can't let the outside forces allow us to dictate what our family is and isn't. We really
Yeah.
need to decide that for ourselves. And
Exactly.
then lastly is that of it's our choice.
Hmm.
We really truly get to choose.
You really get to choose the environment that you create in your home. And you're also, think about this, guys, you're teaching them what relationships are about. So if you can teach them to still be cordial, to still be kind, to still be loved, regardless of this person is attacking you, then you're teaching them how to react in the future with people that are treating them in that same manner. So it's hard. It's not easy. And I'm telling you, whoever's listening, it is not an easy road. And sometimes you're not blessed with good kids. Like I have other friends who are stepmoms, their kids were like hell on wheels. You know what I mean? And they had to like, I had one friend who left an 8-year relationship because at that point she just could not take care of that child anymore. It was just that kid made her life a living hell. And that relationship, all they did was constantly fight and bicker. And the child was in there and she was just like, I cannot do this for another 10 years. I'm done. She like broke up with him. And honestly, that was probably the best thing that she did, not only for herself, but for the child, because the child does not need to experience like combative relationships, because what's going to happen is you're creating a pattern in them so that they can go and think, oh, this is what love is about, fighting and arguing and throwing things at each other, physical abuse. Like this is what love is about. So they're going to go and continue the pattern. So that's one thing that I was always conscious of with my husband was like, I never wanted to fight in front of the boys. And there was one time where we got in a fight, like, but I specifically remember getting back into the car because we got in a fight. And then I got in the car, the boys were sitting in the back seat. And I was like, just so you know, this fight has nothing to do with you. It's just about this dumb thing. And don't worry, we've already apologized. I forgave him. He forgave of me. We love each other. We're going on a road trip. Let's go, and
Mhm.
you have to understand that those kids, they are watching, they are sucking up every single thing you're doing. They're like sponges and they're learning, especially between the ages of 0 to 7. They are
Mhm.
learning how to be, move, and work through this world. And if you're showing them negative relationship standards, then that's the standard they're going to keep for the rest of their life. So,
Yes,
do
it
you
is.
love this child? Do you love them enough to swallow your pride to say, you know what? I don't want to resist anymore. I'm just going to let it flow. Let it flow because it'll always work the way it's supposed to work. It
Correct.
is. It's supposed to unfold the way it's supposed to unfold.
Yeah. And even if you haven't made it to, or you're not in a situation where it's love the child enough, it's it really gets back to that of your family as a whole. Do you love your family, yourself included, as a whole, to make the decision to do what you need to do? And I would say something that we didn't tap into. So if I'm ever invited back, let me go ahead and plant the seed, is that dynamic between the wife and husband in a blended family. It's a tricky dynamic. As a stepmom coach, I can put people in different categories on that, but it reminds me of what you're sharing with the one friend that it didn't work out. And a lot of marriages don't work out because of this blended family chaos, for lack of
Yeah.
a better term. And it doesn't have to be that way. There's support out here for people through therapy, through coaching, through groups, through things of that nature. And I can tell you, in these 7 years, I've been busy. And although I can put people in different categories and different stages and phases and all that other good stuff, I can say, out of over the thousand of women that I've helped, I've talked to, I've made conversation with, when I tell you not one stepmom story or stepdad story is ever alike.
Mm-mm.
It's not a one size fits all. And so that's
Yeah.
why I've been busy.
Yeah. It's not like the Disney movies have taught us at all. And it's not like what movies portray. It is a lot of work, a lot of dedication, a lot of time, a lot of energy. I remember when I first got into the relationship, I thought, oh, this is going to be easy. I love kids. I've worked with kids. I have lots of nieces and nephews. Like, I know exactly how to do this. I was wrong. I was wrong. I was completely wrong. You learn so much and you are faced with a lot of your own inner child healing. And the thing is, I teach my clients to do whenever you're about to get into a relationship, and especially a complicated one that involves kids, you must go on your healing journey. You have to, because you are going to be faced with all the things that trigger you, all of the things. And, we're constantly evolving. I'm constantly evolving and growing. It took me a long time to finally verbalize the words, I love you, to my stepkids, because I wasn't told I love you growing up. It was really hard for me to say, like, even now, my mom, it took her almost 40 years. My brother, it's hard for them to say, I love you on the phone. When I would say, I love you, my brother would be like, thanks, and hang up because it just wasn't a words that we said to each other. And
Mhm.
so even though I say it a lot to my husband, to the kid, to Connor and to Kyle, it was hard for me to say that. And it wasn't until this last probably 2 years that I could verbally, before I used to say, we love you, we love you. But I finally needed to say, I love you. I personally love you. I have love in my heart for you, because that's so important. And I'm telling you, you are going to be faced with so many things that you're like, wait a minute, I need to work on that. I need to work on this. I need to work on that. And it's going to, like any other child relationship, I've been told, I don't have kids of my own, but I've been told once you have a kid of your own, there's going to be a lot of healing you're going to do. It's almost like a simultaneous healing, because this child is going to bring you a mirror of who you are and things that bother you, right? And things that trigger you. So, I mean,
And here's the thing too. I time and time again with my own son, that is a true statement. But then also when you have conflict with the bio mom, and then the kid starts having similarities to that bio mom, because again, it's the birth mom.
mhm,
If you don't figure out how to deal with that with her, how are you going to deal with it with the kid?
yeah,
So that mirror or the reflection, it'll be Halloween 364 days out the year. You might get your birthday off
yeah,
um, if you're not careful. So yes, the
yeah,
your own healing, and that's along. I mean, we are just aligned with. That's why that stepmom really getting somewhere and figuring out her own self. I'll use your language as well. Getting her own healing journey is so key. And that's
yeah.
why you've been the awesome stepmom that you are,
Oh, thank you.
because you have done a healing journey, and
Yeah.
it shows in each one of those stories that you told.
Oh my gosh. I joke with them all the time when I do something for them, because they'll ask me to like make them cookies or do something, and I'll bring out cookies and I'll be like, "Who's your favorite stepmom?" And they laugh because obviously I'm their only stepmom, but
Right.
they laugh all the time. But like I literally just always want to make light of just our relationship. I love them so much. Just this last year they surprised me at Christmas and got me like they always used to get me Christmas presents, but it was always just like a candle or something just that had no meaning to it. It was like the last person on the list. Here's your gift. But this last year they printed, because I forced them to take Christmas pictures with us every year. And they're very game, which I really love about them. Like we've done
Oh, anyone that
flannels
has
and
kids,
yeah,
we understand what you mean by forcing. We
forcing
get
them
it.
like flannels and so this last year I made them wear flannels and they printed the picture. They took that picture, printed it at like CVS and put it in a frame and gave it to me for Christmas. I kid you not. I was bawling my eyes out and it just made me so sad and made me so happy that like not sad but happy that like they truly see us as a little family unit. They have their family with their mom and now they see us like as a little family unit. And I got a text message too from Kyle. He said, which was because last year I had COVID, so we couldn't do like a family get together. And so he texted me, "Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for being there for my dad. I really
Oh,
appreciate that." I think
yes.
that he realizes now that he's in his 20s that like if I wasn't there in his life, that his dad would be alone, because
Correct.
it's just like everything is working out. I always think back to like all the time and all the energy I wasted trying to resist,
Mm,
trying to swim up the river, trying to make
yeah.
it and then it wasn't until I realized I just need to let go and let it flow and it'll
Mhm.
work out. All the pieces will unfold the way
Sure
it's
will.
supposed to.
Each
So
and every time.
exactly. All right. So as we wrap up this episode, ChaVonne, what would be your nugget of wisdom for anyone who is listening, whether they're a stepmom, a stepkid, or they're getting into a relationship with a man with a child? What would be your nugget of wisdom?
My nugget of wisdom is, I'm just going to take from our what we talked about today, is don't be afraid to queen your castle and really tap into what your stepmom style. What is your stepmom style, and own that. And
Mm,
know that even watching your journey, know that it evolve as you learn to not resist and let go. It really will. It'll take its own course. And
mm.
I love it that, like, truly, like you said, being a stepmom, being a step parent, you really understand what it means to have a fearless journey. So
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
So, how can my audience find you?
They can find me on Instagram. I am stepmom coach ChaVonne. And if they can DM me, if they're looking to have a chemistry call, just to see if I call it crushing the chaos call, or a stepmom chat, just to see if I am a good fit for them to support them in their journey. Because like you said, letting go is not easy. healing that takes place specifically for you to be the awesome stepmom that so many of us want to be, why not get some support in that area? So
Yeah,
that's what it is
exactly.
for me.
I wish I would have met you at the beginning of my journey because it took me a long time, years to figure it out, and many books and many conversations and many podcasts. So instead of doing it my way, take the shortcut and hire ChaVonne as your stepmom coach. Thank you again for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you again for listening to Journey of a Fearless Female. I'm your host, Paola Rosser. If you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual mentor, you can book a free discovery call with me at www.fearlessfemale.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at fearlessfemale_coach, subscribe to my YouTube channel at fearlessfemale, or find me on TikTok. I'm under at paola.rosser. And if you love this episode, make sure you hit subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a review. I read every single review, and I truly appreciate the time you spend writing it.